Welcome to your personal deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at academic top earners in Europe. You sent over some excerpts from a 2018 research article by Merrick Quick. It was published in Science and Public Policy. And we're going to kind of break down what it reveals about who's making, the big bucks in European universities and how they got there.
Yeah, it's interesting. This study really kind of challenges some of the common assumptions about how academics, climb the salary ladder. Especially, I think, when we compare European systems to what we typically hear about in, the U.S. and the U.K.
Right. I think a lot of us, we picture these top earners as these like research machines, just constantly churning out publications and like pulling all-nighters in the lab or the library. But this study paints a very different picture, huh?
It does, yeah. One of the most surprising findings is that, long research hours don't necessarily translate to higher pay in Europe. In fact, the study found no negative correlation between teaching hours and salary either.
Oh, interesting.
Which, can kind of goes against what we often hear about academics needing to prioritize research over teaching to kind of maximize their earning potential.
Okay, so wait. If it's not all about like racking up research hours and minimizing teaching, what is the secret sauce for these top earners in European academia? What did this Quick research, reveal?
Well, one intriguing finding is that top earners often dedicate a significant portion of their time to administration and service.
Really?
Considerably more than their lower paid colleagues. Yeah. And, you might be thinking, if you're thinking about climbing the ranks in your department, you might be thinking, hold on, wouldn't that actually take away from valuable research time?
Yeah.
That's a valid question. But this study suggests that, at least in the European context, those leadership and administrative roles might play a more significant role in salary progression than we might initially assume.
So could it be that those administrative roles actually lead to more research opportunities down the line?
Potentially, yeah.
Like maybe it's not just about doing the research yourself, but it's about leading and managing larger projects.
Exactly. Think about it. Those administrative positions often come with leadership roles in research projects, which can then lead to more collaborative publications and greater overall impact. It's like this added layer to the traditional academic career path that we don't always, talk about.
So it's not just about being a brilliant researcher in isolation. It's about leveraging those administrative roles to expand your research network and your influence.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. It makes you wonder if the traditional image of the lone wolf academic toiling away in their office is kind of becoming a bit outdated. What do you think?
Well, it's an interesting point to consider, especially as universities, increasingly operate in a more interconnected and collaborative way. And this study also sheds some light on how academics approach research itself. You say Quick introduces these concepts of investment motivation and consumption motivation. Traditionally, researchers might have viewed their work as an investment, putting in those long hours to kind of build a reputation and climb the ladder with the ultimate goal of, higher salary. But Quick suggests that for many academics, especially in Europe, the motivation might be more about consumption, the genuine passion for research and the intellectual satisfaction it brings, even if it doesn't directly translate to a bigger paycheck.
That makes sense. It's like they're driven by the joy of discovery and the pursuit of knowledge itself, rather than purely financial rewards. But even with that in mind, surely publishing still matters, right? I mean, publications are still a major currency in the academic world.
Absolutely. Yeah. Publications are still incredibly important. And the study did find a strong link between high research productivity and higher salaries. But here's where it gets really interesting. The study suggests that achieving that high level of research productivity might not necessarily require those grueling research hours we imagine. Those top earners may be incredibly efficient with their research time, or they might be leveraging those collaborative relationships and leadership roles that we were talking about to boost their output without burning the candle at both ends.
So it's about working smarter, not just harder.
Exactly, yeah.
It's about quality over quantity, having a strategic approach to your research. And, this finding could be particularly relevant to you, our listener, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the pressure to constantly churn out publications. Maybe it's time to kind of reevaluate your research strategies and prioritize quality and collaboration over simply logging endless hours,
And speaking of reevaluating our assumptions, we need to address the gender pay gap.
Yes.
Previous studies have pointed to a persistent gap in academic salaries, but this study throws a bit of a curveball.
Okay.
It found that being female was only a statistically significant negative predictor of salary in one country,
Ugh.
Poland.
Wow. That is surprising, especially when we consider the broader conversation around, gender disparities in academia.
Right, right. It suggests that the gender pay gap in academia isn't a universal constant. Rather,
Yeah.
it can vary significantly depending on factors like national policies, cultural norms within academia, and even the dominant academic disciplines in a particular country. It's possible that Poland, at the time of the study, had policies or practices in place that inadvertently disadvantaged women in academia, while other countries had made more progress toward pay equity.
So that raises the question, what was it about Poland specifically that contributed to this discrepancy? And what can we learn from other countries that have managed to close the gap more effectively? This is where the study could have dug a little deeper, don't you think?
I agree. Yeah, this is a crucial area for further research, and it highlights the importance of understanding the complex interplay between national context, institutional policies, and cultural norms in shaping gender disparities in academia. It's not a simple one-size-fits-all solution. But the fact that the gender pay gap was not statistically significant in other countries studied offers a glimmer of hope, I think, suggesting that progress is indeed possible.
So as we kind of move forward in this deep dive, it's crucial to keep this nuanced perspective on the gender pay gap in mind. It's not just a global phenomenon. It's influenced by specific local factors that need to be addressed on a case-by-case basis.
And it's not just about gender. This research raises some important questions about how academic work is evolving more broadly. I mean, is the traditional model of the research-obsessed academic, the one we were talking about earlier, is that actually starting to become a bit outdated?
That's such a good point. This whole conversation is really making me rethink those traditional markers of academic success. Maybe it is time to start recognizing and rewarding the full range of, skills and contributions that faculty bring to the table.
Exactly, yeah. We need to recognize that universities aren't just research factories. They're complex ecosystems, right? With faculty contributing in a myriad of ways. Research is obviously a critical component, but so are teaching, mentorship, service to the institution, and leadership. And often these different roles actually, intersect and reinforce one another, creating a much richer and dynamic academic environment.
It makes me think about all the pressure that young academics face today. They're told to publish or perish, but at the same time they're facing, increasing demands for teaching and administrative work and community outreach. It just sounds like a recipe for burnout.
It's definitely a valid concern, and it really highlights the need for universities to kind of step back and reevaluate their priorities. How can they create more supportive environments for faculty, especially those early in their careers? If we want to attract and retain the best and brightest minds, we need to offer them more than just the promise of a big paycheck, right? We need to provide opportunities for professional growth and meaningful mentorship and a chance for some semblance of work-life balance.
Okay. So let's bring this back to you, our listener. Whether you're a seasoned professor, navigating the complexities of university life, or you're just starting your academic journey, what can you take away from this deep dive into European top earners?
Well, I think for starters, it's a reminder that the path to success in academia isn't always linear or predictable. This research suggests that it's less about fitting into a predetermined mold and more about forging your own path, finding what truly motivates you and capitalizing on the opportunities that align with your strengths and your passions.
It's about recognizing that you have the power to kind of shape your own career trajectory within academia. So don't be afraid to explore different roles and step outside of your comfort zone and embrace opportunities that might not fit the traditional definition of academic success.
Yeah. And remember that finding mentors who can guide you and building a strong network of collaborators who share your interests can make all the difference. Academia doesn't have to be a solitary pursuit. In fact, collaboration and mentorship are often the keys to achieving both individual and collective success.
And don't be afraid to, advocate for yourself and for the kind of academic environment you want to see. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the demands of the job or if you feel like your contributions are being recognized, speak up.
I have to say this deep dive has really kind of challenged my own assumptions about academic salaries and what it means to be successful in this field.
Me too. It's so interesting to see how these dynamics play out differently across Europe compared to, like, the more familiar Anglo-Saxon model.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a powerful reminder that there's no one size fits all approach to building a fulfilling and rewarding academic career. What works for one person in one context might not be the right path for another.
Now, I know we've been focusing on what this research tells us about those at the top of the salary scale,
Yeah.
but it does make you wonder if the dynamics might be different for the younger generation entering academia today. I mean, think about all the changes happening in higher education. The rise of online learning, the increasing pressure to secure external funding, the shifting landscape of academic publishing. Are the traditional markers of academic success, like high research output, are they becoming less relevant in this rapidly changing environment?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that deserves further exploration. Are universities adapting quickly enough to the evolving needs and aspirations of a new generation of scholars?
Are they providing the right kind of support and mentorship to help these early career academics navigate this new landscape? It's almost like we need a whole separate deep dive just on that topic. You're right, we could spend hours on that. But for now, let's start to bring this deep dive to a close.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a fascinating exploration of what it takes to kind of reach the upper echelons of European academia.
Yeah, before we started, I had this preconceived notion that it was all about like those, grueling research hours and a single-minded focus on publications. But but what we've uncovered is a much more nuanced and honestly a more encouraging picture.
It is. It really is. This research suggests that, achieving success in European academia is less about conforming to a rigid model and more about forging your own path. It's about strategic time management and building strong collaborations and leveraging leadership opportunities.
And most importantly, it's about finding that sweet spot where, your passion and your skills align.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're genuinely excited about your research and you're actively seeking opportunities to expand your impact, the rewards will follow, and those rewards might not always come in the form of a larger paycheck.
That's such a crucial point. This research really highlights the importance of intrinsic motivation in academia. It's about that consumption motivation we were
Yeah.
discussing earlier. The deep satisfaction that comes from pursuing knowledge and making a meaningful contribution to your field.
And that's a great reminder, I think, for all of us, regardless of where we are in our academic journeys. Don't get so caught up in the external markers of success that you lose sight of what truly drives you.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought. We've been exploring the experiences of, established academics in Europe, but the academic landscape is constantly evolving.
Right.
Yeah. And the path to success for the next generation of academics might look very, very different. So stay curious and stay adaptable and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one rewriting the rules of academic success in the years to come. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.